The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
Pompey suffer another injury blow as Jacob Farrell's groin problem goes backwards. This is what John Messino is saying.
Jacob has been in and out of training, and last week had to dip out. It's just not settling down, and that's something we're not sure of a timescale on. Obviously, it's very frustrating from our point of view. Naturally, it looked like Birmingham would have been a game that Jacob played. He does not need an operation at the minute, it's just something we are looking to settle. Maybe injections, but not operation. He's not training with us at the moment, we are just waiting for that to settle. It's a really frustrating one. There have been a couple of squads this year that Jacob hasn't made as a selection, but recently it would have been very useful to have him. If you look at the options we had, what we wanted to do was try to keep the planned back four intact as possible. We didn't want to change too many things around. We thought it would be a good outlet to have a left-footed player on that left-hand side. I suppose there was a possibility of a shape change, but without Ogilvie and Farrell we didn't really have a left wing back either. We did consider a shape change, but we thought we'd be able to do what we could with the personnel. We brought on Willow against Southampton, but we didn't want to disrupt the back too much and move too many of the starting back four in and out. The reality is, if we had that clean bill of health, Connor would have played there. We worked on that on Wednesday, and by the time we got to Friday we had to change it.
When Jacob Farrell arrived, it was fulfilling two or three criteria, contingencies. One, he was an asset. He was somebody who may develop in value, who may come to be a Premier League quality left back, in which case we can use him in the Premier League, or we can sell him to a Moneybags Premier League club. So he's going to be an asset. Two, he's going to be a player that is going to develop. He's going to get better and better, and he's going to start to put pressure on our incumbent left-back and improve that incumbent left-back's game, because players do tend to sharpen up a little bit more even when there's somebody pressing for their place. He's youthful, he's young, he's got a big future, and so that's going to make the incumbent left-back think, I'd better just stay on my toes. But the third criteria is that he would be a competent, professional, dedicated left back straight away in the event that our incumbent left back is either ill, injured or suspended. And now that's not the case. And we saw what that meant to us on Saturday against Birmingham, because the opposition track everything that the following Saturday's opponents have on the table. And that's why sometimes John Messino tries to make sure that they have to second guess or third guess. But you can't keep them from knowing that our first choice left back is ill and therefore not playing. Our second choice left back is suffering an injury, which is keeping him out for a while, so he's not playing. So in all probability, we're going to be very vulnerable down their right, our left. And that is what proved to be the case. We're hearing now, I think, out in the open, that they considered the possibility of having Williams at left back, which is where he can play and be very, very capable. And then we would have a capable, dedicated right back, either Devlin or Swanson at right back. But John Messino has gone on record and said that they decided they didn't want to disrupt the back four that much, and that Williams is our first choice right back, and so he will start there. But the decision to play Bowett at left back didn't work. Okay, they're allowed to make mistakes. They're allowed to take a risk. We want them to take a risk. We want them to surprise the opposition, and that would certainly have surprised the opposition because it surprised us. Didn't quite work out. Maybe another time a gamble like that will. And we won't stop him from making those gambles, but not too many, especially when they head west.
John Messino is asked about the stress of pressure. This is what he says.
Genuinely, the pressure is always the same, and that's always immense. There may be 4 games I can remember in my Pompey career where probably going into them the pressure isn't quite there. 2 when we had already won League One, and 2 last season when we had secured our championship status. Yet, by the time the game kicked off, the pressure was still immense because we want to win every match. Every single time I set foot on the football pitch, or I stand in the technical area, or I prepare for the game, I find there's a huge amount of pressure. That's mainly from myself and, quite rightly, from everybody connected to the football club, such as the fans and the city, wanting us to win. That's great, it's the only way it should be. I never ever want to approach a football match and not feel the pressure to win. That would be a boring place to be. Some people will approach it differently. Some people will sit here and talk about this isn't pressure. Pressure is putting food on the table for kids. Fine, that's just not the way I see it. I see it as a massively pressurized job because of what I expect of myself and what I expect of our team every single day.
There we are, and as we've come to expect of John Messino, nothing less than utterly fascinating, honest and insightful. It takes a brave man to say that there is pressure on people to put food on the table for kids, but then he says, fine, that is just not the way I see it. I see it, that's managing Pompey, as a massively pressurised job. Because, he says, of expectations. His own expectations, never mind about the expectations of the club and the fans and the city. And he says, or he implies, that he's enjoying it. Well, now, those are brave words and important words to utter, because he's not going to say that it gets to him. Or he's not going to say that it somehow diminishes or impairs the way in which he does his job. He wouldn't say that even if there were a small arc of truth in that, and we all suspect that there is, because it isn't all plain sailing and, lily-white optimism and enjoyment of the adrenaline of the moment, of the hour, of the day, of the week, of the season. It's not. It is hard on occasions, and he deals with that privately, of course. And always says the right thing, and always says the insightful thing. And he's absolutely spot on. I think we all shared this when we had 2 games to go, having won the League One. The atmosphere in Fratton Park was different, wasn't it? If you remember, things were quieter. There was almost a sense of loss, that we no longer had the crusade of achieving the title or achieving promotion. That was gone, and we missed it because we enjoyed it. And ditto when we achieved enough points to be certain that we weren't going down, but we still had 2 more games to go last season. There was a sense of anticlimax, just a little bit. We enjoy the excitement. We enjoy the rush. We enjoy humming The Great Escape. We enjoy, of course, chanting Championes, Championes, Championes. Remember that? Those days lie ahead as well as behind, surely. Let's all do a bit of John Messino optimism.
Portsmouth are set to take on Wrexham at Fratton Park this Wednesday night, hoping to reignite their season in front of a supportive home crowd. After suffering 3 consecutive defeats, including a tough 4-0 loss against Birmingham City last Saturday, John Messino's team is eager to turn things around. Currently sitting 20th in the Championship, Pompey hasn't secured a win in their last 4 games, leaving them just 4 points clear of the relegation zone. Following a 16th place finish last season, Messino kicked off this campaign with high hopes of climbing the table. On the other side, Wrexham have shown glimpses of talent, surprising everyone with a win against league leaders Coventry City last Friday. Despite this, they've struggled with consistency, having won only one of their previous 6 matches before last weekend's game. Phil Parkinson's squad will aim to build on their recent success, with Kiefer Moore's hat-trick against Coventry serving as a potential catalyst for their visit to Fratton Park. In team news, Messino shared some positive updates ahead of the match. Left-back Connor Ogilvie, who missed the Birmingham defeat, is expected to return to the lineup against Wrexham. Portsmouth has battled a challenging injury record this season, but there are encouraging signs of recovery within the squad. Key players like Callum Lang, Nico Schmid and Adrian Sajegic are targeting returns later this month. Looking at the predicted lineup, Portsmouth could stick with a similar setup, with Ogilvie likely back in action. Jordan Williams is expected to start at right back, although Zach Swanson may also be considered. Josh Murphy, despite not being fully fit, might push for a starting spot due to his impressive performance last season. The midfield trio should remain unchanged, but Connor Chaplin might be given more time on the pitch to boost creativity. Up front, Mackenzie Kirk is likely to start over Colby Bishop, as Portsmouth's forwards have struggled to find the net this season.
It's going to be really good to get Ogilvie back on the pitch, in the team, at left back, and spare poor Ibane Bowett the nightmare that he had against Birmingham. Understandably, no fault of his. He was playing out of position. He is ring rusty, and he was up against a top-rated, wide-sided forward who just hung him out to dry, unfortunately. Didn't really skin him very often, but you knew that there were problems when the ball was fed out to him, and it was Bauer who was standing between him and the byline. Now, Ogilvie is a completely different kettle of fish. And what I want to ask you to think about is this. There's a feature running on the BBC World of Sport website, whatever you call it, at the moment, which is name the player who is the most important player to each of the Premier League sides. And much of it is very predictable. Guess what? Haaland, who scored 13 goals in something like 6 games. It's around about that. He scored more than twice the number of goals that anybody else has scored in the Premier League so far this season. So not surprisingly, he is deemed by the fan base that they used to make this nomination. The Manchester City fan base said Haaland is our most important player. Of course, other clubs and in other places, and the Championship is perhaps the best place for this, don't necessarily go for the eye-catching superstar, who in our case, Pompey's case, would probably be Josh Murphy at the moment, has been for some time, because of his impact, because of his goals, his assists, and the fact that he strikes fear into the opposing defence. But there are other ways in which you can be the most important player to a team, and they transcend actual playing ability. Marlon Pack is a case in point because he is such a talisman in the middle of the pitch. He sets the tone for what we want all of the Pompey team to be doing when they're off the ball. And sometimes when he's on the ball, those long raking diagonal passes with pinpoint accuracy move over Glenn Hoddle. Marlon Pack brings a lot. But I put it to you that there's a different man who sets the tone for Pompey, and that is Connor Ogilvie. I have heard it said going back years, well, a couple of years, that John Messina had said quietly that as long as he's fit, the first name on his team sheet is always Connor Ogilvie. He knew what Connor Ogilvie is about, and he's about the type of football that John Messina wants, the type of football that the fans want, the type of guy that the fans want in a blue shirt, the kind of guy who's human enough to recognise that he might not make it in the Championship, but he buckled down, put his chin on his chest, and he's got stuck in, and he is now an accredited Championship player. There's no two ways about it. And he's still got, I think, a while to go before he's 30, so maybe the best is yet to come. Has he got a Premier League game in him? The way things are going, we won't find out in the foreseeable future, but, well, you never know. Football's a funny old game. No, Connor Ogilvie. If we have him back against Wrexham, it will be a totally different proposition as far as Wrexham are concerned. Because over there in the corner, doing what he does, getting stuck in, above board, there's no nonsense with Connor Ogilvie. A 50-50 ball is his. An aerial combat duel, whether it's in our penalty area defending or their penalty area attacking, it's his. And sometimes he's so confident of his ability all round the pitch that he will join in an attack, overlap Josh Murphy, and if the attack breaks down, he doesn't even bother to trot back. He puts his hands on his hips and he walks, because he's Connor Ogilvie. And he makes the rest of us smell of confidence and pride and strength and effort and commitment. And he's a pretty good footballer as well. So welcome back, Connor. As far as the business of who's wearing the number 9 shirt goes, I think the comment of the day is Portsmouth have struggled to find the net this season. I think our manager hinted that he thought that Colby Bishop hadn't made a big difference when he came on against Birmingham. Nobody did, but he didn't either. And he was on the pitch for almost as long as Mackenzie Kirk, wasn't he? I think they brought Kirk off for Bishop and Yang off for Murphy. I think I seem to remember. I've kind of blocked it out, haven't you? Blocked out the Birmingham game? Yeah. I mean, football's all about the next game, isn't it? When Saturday comes. Or, in the case of this week, when Wednesday comes.